Hey guys, so I have already failed at Vlogmas. I was supposed to upload a video yesterday that I did and I never got around to it, and come to think of it, I haven't got time to edit that today as well as this today, and Vlogmas is kind of eating into my life. So I've decided, and another thing, I found that the other people that I subscribe to, I've just not got the time to watch all their Vlogmas videos, which kind of makes me really sad. So I'm going to do maybe a video every other day, so not really strictly Vlogmas, like vlogging every day in December, but more kind of just vlogging throughout the Christmas, if that makes sense. It's just a bit too much for me, I think, to be vlogging every single day and editing and kind of trying to get on with life with a newborn and a toddler. Other people can do it quite well, but I haven't quite. But yeah, no, not me. Anyway, back to the video. I'm here to do Albert's 5-week update. I'm just feeding him at the moment. So last time I think I vlogged, I told you about the struggles that we've had with Albert's reflux, his silent reflux, and that things have been really difficult. But even though I say they've been difficult, they've been easier than they were with Sebastian. I think they've been more difficult because I've struggled with kind of working out what has been wrong with Albert. But thankfully he's on medication and things have massively improved. It's really strange actually, because I think at the beginning I had a few days, 2 days, where he was just crying his eyes out at night. I think he was actually cluster feeding, and I was misreading it as there was something wrong with him, I think, as well as the reflux. We just had a few bad nights and I really struggled, and I just kind of totally lost my shit there for a minute in those kind of nights. Woke up the next day and was like, it's okay, and was back to normal, and then the night would come and I'd be a different person. And that happened 2 or 3 times, I think, and I just came to realise that it's not going to be forever. This is just the way it is, like with a newborn. I think some babies are really quite calm, and then you have other babies like mine who are quite kind of colicky, windy, reflux, you know, they're not very settled at the beginning. Newborns' digestive systems are so kind of immature, so it's kind of to be expected, I suppose. So we saw cranial as you guys know, we've been seeing the cranial osteopathist, and that has massively helped. Our last session, he was vile after the last session, which can happen, and then he has massively improved. Now, whether it's the cranial osteopathy or whether it's the medication, I don't know, but he has improved. He's still grizzly, he's still not wonderful, but he's better than he was. We have had an issue, as I said to you before, as to working out whether he has a cow's milk protein allergy. Now, cow's milk protein allergy and silent reflux kind of go hand, and general reflux go hand in hand. Usually about 50% of babies who have silent reflux or reflux have a cow's milk protein allergy. So now the thing is that they usually recommend that you cut out dairy from your diet, and there isn't like a proper test for it. It's kind of a case of eliminating it and seeing how the baby is. So I've been trying to do that for a number of weeks. Now, he has improved, as I've said, whether that's the cutting out the dairy, but it does take 6 weeks to leave your system, or it's the medication, or it's the chiropractor, I don't know. He still does have issues in the morning when he wakes up, and you can hear he's kind of going like this, kind of gargling. You can hear like a fluid at the back of his nose where the acid's come up and collected, and his mouth smells very sour, so like it smells like he's you know, it smells like sick basically, but he hasn't been sick. Another thing that I will show you in a minute as well is he's got this kind of red rash down his face. Now, sometimes this goes and sometimes it comes back, and I don't know if it's after I've eaten something dairy. Now, yesterday Chris gave me a cup of tea with normal milk in it and he forgot. So, and this morning he woke up with this red rash. But it could be that he was lying on that side. It could be that he's like me, and I know Sebastian is. We've got hyperpigmentation in that you kind of scratch our skin and it goes flaming red instantly. It could be baby acne. We just don't know. So I'm going back to obviously I added in that dairy yesterday, didn't mean to, and I have to go back and cut it out again, and try and get it out of my system and to work out if that's what it is. It's kind of a case of just waiting and seeing, and what, you know, he might grow out of it, we just don't know. He's fine in himself, it's just he's got this redness on his face. I think he might have bits of it on his body, he's got it behind his ears. So when we go to our 6-week check, which will be next week, we will be able to kind of discuss that at that time. In terms of routine at the moment, obviously Albert isn't really in a routine. What tends to happen is he sleeps a lot throughout the day, and then for about 6 o'clock-ish, or sometimes later, sometimes earlier, he'll start his fussy cluster feed. There have been a couple of days where he hasn't done it, but he usually will cluster feed like mad. And I was reading yesterday, some babies cluster feed quite peacefully. They just kind of feed all evening, but quite peacefully. And other babies are not so peaceful, like Albert, who kind of protests a little bit, and they fuss and they bob up and down on the boob, and they, as I was discussing in my cluster feeding video, he's just incredibly fussy and just cries and cries and then stops crying and then feeds and then sleeps for a bit and then wakes up again, and it's kind of like that all evening. And me and Chris are totally fine with that. It just, sometimes it can kind of disturb our programs, and that usually ends anywhere between 10:30 and 12, by which point he'll crash. And I am able now to get him to sleep in his sleepy head next to our bed, and he'll go down. The other night he went down and had like a 4-hour stretch, and then when he wakes up, usually I kind of feed him, but I feed him lying down, and he'll quite often just stay asleep, like latched on. I'm trying to get him back into the kind of habit of putting him back into a sleepy head and giving him a dummy, instead of just, because he sort of feeds properly, then stops, then sucks a bit and just kind of uses me as a dummy, which is fine. But I would like him to sleep in his sleepy head next to me. And then he'll wake up maybe every 2 to 3 hours, but I hardly, because I'm not having to get up and make a bottle or anything, I hardly feel like I'm missing out on any sleep. So at the moment, so he's generally pretty good. And then at about sort of 4:30 he'll wake again and then go back to sleep again, and he'll stay asleep then. There's some times when Chris takes Lassie into nursery for me, and it's nice because I kind of get a lie-in. So that's generally kind of how it is on an evening. I'll just show you him now. I don't know if you can kind of see on the side of his face. It's kind of pimply. Poor thing, he's like, ah. It's just really hard to know what it is. But I am really hoping it's not the dairy that's doing it. And I am having another thing that you kind of have to bear in mind as well. I thought to myself, oh, I can have soy then as a substitute, because a lot of coffee shops do like soy milk instead of anything else. The protein in soy and cow's milk protein are almost identical. So the likelihood is you need to kind of cut out soy as well, which is kind of frustrating. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. But other than that, he is definitely much more calmer and a little bit more contented. He will have moments, before I couldn't put him down at all, whereas now he'll have moments where he'll lie on the floor and kind of look around, and he will sit in his swing for a short while, not for very long. The other day he actually sat in it and he fell asleep, but he will actually sit in it for a short while. So we are getting to the point where I'm not constantly having to hold him, which I was fine with holding him and wearing him and stuff, but there are times when I kind of just really would like my hands free, or just to play with Sebastian, or just generally to have my hands free. So yeah, we're having a meeting with the lactation consultant on Thursday, because he does have a really lousy latch. It's a really lazy latch, and the reason is, I think it's my fault really. I do a lot of stuff one-handed. I kind of I'm kind of feeding him while walking around, or I don't know, putting my makeup on and just doing stuff, walking, on the move. And I think it's as a result he's ended up with a bit of a lazy latch, because sometimes he unlatches and goes back on, but he doesn't latch on properly. So that's something that we really need to work on. Generally, it's okay. For me in general, I'm doing really well. I'm sort of back to my old kind of self, really. I think I never really lost that, apart from a bit when I was wondering what was going on with Albert. Oh, I know. You're not happy. See, sometimes he does get these really grisly moments where he's just really not happy. And he's got a little old man's face. He looks like a little old man. Oh, Albert. I wish there was something I could do to help you. I think you need your meds now. As for, I never really sort of like lost myself, I don't think. I did have like that whole... I was really expecting the kind of baby blues to happen like on day 3 or whenever it was that my milk came in, and nothing did. If anything, I was like really high and happy and really kind of like on cloud 9 and in this kind of like baby bliss, which I did come crashing down from when he started. It was about day 9 when he started getting really kind of fussy and stuff. But things have, you know, back to normal, and I'm kind of really adjusting to the routine now. I was really anxious about doing certain things on my own, like walking the dog on my own with the 2 children and getting both to nursery and things like that. But it's been fine. Like, I've managed it and stuff. It's been okay. And Chris does help out like where he can, which is good. Oh, I forgot to add as well, in terms of his weight, we don't know exactly how much he weighs. However, yesterday we went to Chris's mum's work, and she works in a laundrette, and there's like a weighing scale there that's kind of like the old like a fabric scale, so it's kind of like a net, perfect to weigh a baby in. And we weighed him, and he's about 4.5 kilos, which is roughly nearly 10 pounds. So he is weighing what Sebastian weighed at nearly 10 weeks, I think. We think that's how much he weighs. Obviously those scales might not necessarily be that accurate, so we're gonna, like, obviously he'll be weighed next week at his 6-week check, and we'll be able to know then kind of how he's doing. But he's definitely bigger than Sebastian was. He's really like chunky. He's in the same clothes, which is weird, so maybe lengthwise he's about the same length, but he's just certainly got more kind of meat on him. He's a bit more chunkier. I don't know if you can see, I don't want to like really disturb him. He's got one of those soothy dummies in his mouth, which he's just spat out. It's basically this, it's like a little silicone dummy. They tend to give them to babies in the NICU, and the reason is because it's completely silicone, so it kind of helps, rather than being hard, it's soft, so it's kind of the same motion as like if it was a nipple, and it kind of helps soften the osteopath is saying it softens their jaw rather than the hard dummies. But also a dummy really helps reflux massively, to kind of help them kind of push things down rather than have things coming back up. So we've really tried to encourage him having a dummy, particularly these ones, because they are like, even though they look horrendous, like a big hole, I think they look horrible. And another thing we have been using, which I've just given him some now actually, gripe water. We never used it with Sebastian, but it's been really, really good for helping Albert bring his wind up. The osteopath helped that a lot, but the gripe water also really massively helps. And I never realised as well, it's an anti-acid as well as an anti-flatulent, as they call it. So he has really improved by taking that. But that's pretty much it for our 5-week update. So Albert's really not in a very good mood. He needs his bum changed as well, don't you? You do. You need your bottom changed. Are we going to say hello to everybody in the camera? No. You look just like your daddy. Grumpy. Chris has got like a naturally grumpy face. I always tell him he looks like he's really grumpy, and he's like, I can't help my face, and it's the same as Albert, bless him, he can't help his face, even though he always looks grumpy. So that's it for my 6-week update. I'm not going to do like a belly shot. I know everyone does it, but you've kind of seen, like, my belly has gone back down to what it was, and I don't really care, like, what it, you know, everything's kind of where I'm happy with the way I look at the moment, which is good. So yeah, that's it. I will see you guys soon. If you like this video, please click subscribe for more videos, and hopefully at some point this week I'll be able to get a vlog or something with features Sebastian. So yeah, anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.